Hey, there we are again. One of these videos where I have no idea if it's interesting or not. My musical journey, or how I got into black metal over time. So I'll start my musical journey in the year 2001. That's when I was 12. I was born in 1989. And, I leave out the stuff that happened before. Like, I listened to Blue by Eiffel 65 and stuff that was on the radio. Nothing special, but we're talking about music I was interested in, and that began in 2001 with Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory. That was back in the days when there was still music on MTV, I think it was MTV, and they played music of Linkin Park. I don't know what song it was, but it kind of got me, and I bought the CD of Hybrid Theory back in the days. And a few years later, Meteora came out, which I also bought. I remember having a very small CD player at that time with basically no bass but a lot of treble. Great thing to listen to music on. I got a friend who also liked Linkin Park a lot, and he showed me Korn later. The album Follow the Leader. I think that was in 2003. That was the time when the album Take a Look in the Mirror came out. But my very first Korn album was Follow the Leader, and I fell in love with that. Linkin Park was gone by that time. I think there was another album by Linkin Park coming out after Meteora, Minutes to Midnight or something, but I have no idea about that album. So I was totally into Korn then. And when you're into Korn, it's just a matter of time when you get into Slipknot. That was around the time when Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, came out. I remember me and my friend, another friend, sitting in front of the TV for the premiere of Duality, the song Duality and the music video Duality. We were into Iowa at that time, the album Iowa, which is very brutal and heavy albums still today. And we were kind of shocked by Duality, like, oh, is that Slipknot now? I don't know when that was. Well, it was a video premiere. It was a time where we had no internet. Basically, it was a 56K modem, so you couldn't download or watch videos on the internet. YouTube didn't even exist back then. So all we had was the TV, and we were sitting there, Duality, and so we asked, or let's say, this friend had a cousin who was a little older than us, and he got a metal collection on CD, I think. Did USB sticks exist? I don't know. They probably did. But we got a CD, a metal CD collection. There was like everything on it. And we discovered Mudvayne through music videos, because there were music videos on the CD too. And yes, we're talking about the song Dig here, which is a meme today. We used to watch videos a lot of metal videos. Like, me and my younger friend, Eric is his name, we were like 13, 14, 15 years old, sitting in front of the computer watching metal videos, like, yeah, nice. And that went on for a period of time, let's say. I mean, it's basically 20 years ago. I don't remember it that well. But at some point, one of my classmates, who also listened to metal, Korn, Mudvayne, Slipknot, bought the album Bringer of Blood by 6 Feet Under. And if I listen to it today, it's one of the most boring records ever. But that was my entrance into heavier metal, like death metal. At first, it was a little weird because it was a little too heavy for me, especially the singing, the growling was like, ooh, what is that? That sounds dangerous. Yeah. But I got used to it, of course, because I was probably looking for more brutal stuff, but I didn't know it back then. And around that time, I remember very well, I played Final Fantasy X and listened to that music collection of my friend's cousin on shuffle. And at one point, there was a Gothic Romance by Cradle of Filth playing. And that was the very first time I listened to blast beats, and it was like, oh, this sounds evil. At least I think so, because there are no blast beats on the 6 Feet Under album and no blast beats on the Iowa Slipknot album. but I'm not quite sure. But it was like blast beats for a longer time than just 5 seconds. So that was a Gothic Romance by Cradle of Filth. You could basically say that was the very first black metal song I ever listened to, if you could consider it black metal. And I was like, whoa, this is weird, this is strange. I don't want to listen to that. So I skipped that song. I didn't listen to the full song, but I felt something like, ooh, it was kind of interesting, but it felt weird. I was about 14 or 15, 16? I don't remember it that well. But what I remember is when Cannibal Corpse The Wretched Spawn came out, that was 2004. I was 15 then. And of course, when you know 6 Feet Under, you kind of get into Cannibal Corpse as well. Because, these bands are related for a reason. So I listened to Cannibal Corpse as well. And, I got back to Cradle of Filth. And I listened to more and more Cradle of Filth. And then I discovered Dimmu Borgir. So that was my world. 6 Feet Under, Cannibal Corpse, Dimmu Borgir, Cradle of Filth. Beginner stuff, yes. And I was still listening to Korn. And I still like Korn, actually. Because it was actually my very first metal band, you could say. Yeah. And during that time, I still fed from that music collection I had, because there was still no internet. And I discovered Behemoth, and all that stuff. It grew on me a little. And then around 2006 or 7, the internet got faster. We were able to use ICQ and surf the internet for the first time without waiting several hours for a website to load or whatever. And that was the time I spent a lot of time on blog spots looking for death metal albums. Only death metal, actually. Brutal death metal. I discovered a lot of nice bands back then. I was totally into death metal then. I discovered Vomitory there, which is not underground, but and Supreme Pain, Vomepotro. All these names, I downloaded a lot of stuff. Because, I still went to school, I had no money. How should I buy metal albums? So I downloaded a lot of metal albums. And then 2007 was my first time and my only time in Wacken open air, where I saw Cannibal Corpse and Dimmu Borgir live. Yeah, it's all I remember, because I already, and I later found out that, I think it was 2007, where Immortal had their reunion tour, and one of their first gigs was actually at Wacken Open Air, and I wasn't there. I was at the camping spot drinking beer, while Immortal was celebrating their reunion. Nice! I hate Little Frank for that. I was 18 by that day. So you might ask, why didn't I watch Immortal? Because I didn't know Immortal back then. Or I've heard of that band, but I wasn't interested because it was too black metal for me. Then I met another friend who gave me a DVD. Not with videos or movies on it, but with music. DVD has more capacity, more. You kids don't know what a DVD is, I know. And there was written on that CD, Black Metal Attack. It was German, it was actually Black Metal Attacke. Yeah, and that was a DVD full of black metal. And we're talking about underground stuff, like Angra Mainyu, for example. And of course Immortal and stuff. So I thought, this is the time. It's time to discover black metal. The Destiny gave you that DVD for a reason. Or something, I don't know. And since I already had access to the internet, I looked up some black metal bands. Because, if you have a DVD with 1,000 bands on it, where to start? That's an interesting thing. I actually started with A, and the very first band was Askaraya, because Askaraya starts with 2A. And that's when I listened to... What's the album called? I don't know, but the first song is called Gedanken. And that was the first time I heard very weird black metal vocals. I mean, if you know Askaraya, if you don't know Askaraya, that's how they sound like. And I was like, what is that? But back to the internet research. I did some internet research to see what band should I listen to, and I discovered Dark Throne. So I picked Transylvanian Hunger, and you know, the album starts with the song Transylvanian Hunger, and I fell in love with it. I listened to Transylvanian Hunger on repeat, and I'm not talking about the album, I'm talking about the song. Back at that time, I went to school in another city where I had to travel by train. And you know, trains are pretty crowded in the morning, and I didn't like people back then that much. I still don't like people that much, actually, but I always looked for a place to hide in that train. It was a 30-minute train ride, or 20 minutes, I don't remember it quite correctly, but I found a perfect spot, and the spot was between train wagons. It was very old wagons, actually, and that place, it's like a very small room, you could say. It's not even a room, it's actually just leaving a wagon and entering another wagon. And since the trains were very, very old, it was super dark in there, super cold, and very, very loud. No one would stay there longer than 10 seconds, you know, just to switch wagons. But I found out that this is the perfect place to hide and don't see any people, which is great. So I sat there in the cold with the loud train noises, because you know that area isn't soundproof as the wagons are. And I was listening to Transylvanian Hunger on repeat for 30 minutes straight. I don't know, it was kind of like meditation or something, but that's when I felt something while I was listening to black metal. It wasn't just music, it was more than that. It actually touched me somewhere, and that was the beginning of me listening to black metal, actually. And later I thought, hey, there are more than one song on that album. I think it's 9 songs or 8 songs on Transylvanian Hunger. So I started to listen to the full album, and I fell in love with it. And I still consider Transylvanian Hunger to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, black metal album. And that's where it all began. That was 2008, maybe. Or 2007. Yeah, 8-7, because it was winter. It was winter the same year I was in Wacken, at Wacken. Wacken. And yeah, I must have been 18. So yeah, I started to listen to black metal when I was 18. 18, 17, you know that. That means I've been listening to black metal for 15 years now. Wow. It's still not boring, I gotta say. Yeah, and then 2012 I came up with the name Farvan and started this one-man project called DURBATULUK. So DURBATULUK is actually older than this channel. A lot of people get confused with that. People say, oh, I don't want to listen to YouTuber music. But DURBATULUK is not a YouTuber project. DURBATULUK existed before the whole comedy shit that's going on here. So it's actually a black metal musician making a YouTube channel and not a YouTuber making black metal music. So in short, MTV brought me to Linkin Park, Korn, then Slipknot, Mudvayne, 6 Feet Under, Cannibal Corpse, Cradle Filth, Demoborgia, underground death metal, Wacken, very first metal festival, and then black metal. And that's interesting. And after that, I started to listen to stuff like Deep Purple, AC/DC, Jimi Hendrix, you know, classic rock stuff, and the Beatles, John Lennon, even Miles Davis, you know, some jazz. And then Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, you name it. So, and that's the reason maybe why classic metal sounds modern to me and modern metal sounds old and boring to me. And I'm not even talking about the music, I'm talking about the production. I don't like the production of modern metal. It sounds way too clean, with no soul. Yeah, but I'm losing track. So, I didn't even mention thrash metal. Okay, that was at the time when I listened to Mudvayne. I also listened to Soulfly, and Soulfly brought me to Sepultura. First Roots, then Arise, and from Sepultura I came to Slayer. Yeah. So Sepultura was my very first thrash metal band, and I love them. I still consider them to be better than Slayer, Metallica. I was never a big Metallica fan, I gotta say. I still not am, and it's sometimes it's pretty embarrassing. But I discovered bands like Pantera, for example, or Exodus just a few years ago. So my journey was like, and it's still going on, and I like that. Metal is just awesome. I've been listening to metal for 20 years now, you could say, if you consider Korn a metal band. 20 years of metal. Time to celebrate. Cheers! Without beer. It's healthy farvan. So, that was my journey. I hope I didn't forget anything. Please tell me if that was super boring. If it was interesting, you can tell me too, it's okay. And don't forget to subscribe to Rob Scallon or watch this one. It's probably great as well. Am I looking in the right direction? Yes. That's good. Probably a good video. See you next time.